Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Scientific Origins channel, where we bravely and curiously explore the universe and ask if the data we collect and the observations we make support our models of reality. So, we're continuing today to just refute everything that evolution deniers say. It's all wrong. All of it's bullcrap, and here's how. Today we're doing another. This is like probably one of, if not the most common thing evolution deniers say. It's right up there with, if humans evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? This is a very common one, and it's based on a misunderstanding of how the scientific process works. And so we're going to explain that a little bit and just teach you how to fully refute this very common trope. So, when someone says evolution is just a theory, they're conflating several terms. A severe equivocation is occurring. And these are the relevant terms here. And these scientific terms are being equated with colloquial usages. And so we're going to clarify that and show you how to fully unravel the equivocation taking place here. So the first relevant term is the hypothesis, or the plural hypotheses. And a hypothesis is a scientific proposal which can be tested or verified with data. So it's a proposal. When you're using the scientific process, often one of the first things you do is you ask a question, and a hypothesis is often going to be a proposed answer to that question, which then helps you formulate an experiment. Now, it's important to clarify that this is not the same as the colloquial usage of the term of, I have a hypothesis that my daughter ate the cookies, which is basically just a guess. In science, hypotheses are provisional, possible solutions to unanswered questions and unsolved problems. So, an example of that is the hypothesis that if bacteria is exposed to increasing amounts of antibiotics over generations, antibiotic resistance will increase in the population. So, and this is a hypothesis that we see playing out, and ironically is one of the most germane examples of evolution to the average person's life. You are very likely to be impacted by the bacterial evolution that is occurring due to our overusage of antibiotics. The next relevant term are facts. So, what is a fact? Obviously, in a colloquial term, a fact is just a thing that you take to be true, right? I have the fact that I'm holding a cell phone in my hand right now. There's a dish full of Dungeons and Dragons dice sitting to my right is a fact. And in science, it's similar. It's just something that is objectively true. It remains true regardless of anyone's opinion about it. You know, this phone is in my hand, no matter how you feel about phones and their construction and possible immoral usage. So it is just objective. It's verifiable. Other people can check. They can see with their senses, confirm with their eyes that I have my phone here. But even then, even though it's repeatedly confirmed and accepted as true, it's still provisional. In science, facts can be revised by better, more consistent, more repeatable, observable, confirmable observations, right? So, examples of facts. Fossils of transitional hominids exist in specific geological strata. This is a fact that evolution deniers are very likely to deny, but it's a very important fact. Other examples of facts are that, for instance, objects accelerate towards Earth at about 10 meters per second squared. That's a fact. The speed of light is about 300 million meters per second. That's an example of a fact. And facts are often going to be measurements like that, or just verifiable states of fact. You know, verifiable uh, statements of the state of affairs and laws. So this is kind of what's happening a lot. The evolution denier is claiming that because evolutionary theory isn't a law, it isn't or a fact, it isn't true. So a law is just a concise statement describing observed patterns and regularities. So when you're doing observations, patterns emerge, and we describe those patterns with laws. The laws are just describing what happens, not how or why. So, like the law of how gravity works, how Newtonian gravity works, would be an equation that relates two objects' masses and their distance mathematically, and that's a law. That's an observable pattern that emerges from studying the universe that we've described with math. And it doesn't say why or how these objects have this level of attractive force. That is left to the theory of gravity. But it does often allow us to make predictions, and it's important to keep in mind that laws are not proven theories. A theory never graduates to becoming a law. A theory is a theory in perpetuity, and a law is a law in perpetuity. A law starts off as a law; it doesn't become a law after enough verification. It doesn't start off as a theory and then graduate to a law. That is a common misconception that's absolutely germane to the equivocation that the evolution denier is doing. So you need to know that theories do not evolve into laws. And some examples of laws, these are examples that have to do with evolution. We have the law of monophyly, which states that organisms don't evolve out of their clade, right? Humans are still metazoans or holozoans, philozoans, apoicozoans, even though we are multicellular now, right? So technically, you might categorize that as a change in kind, but we are still technically inside that eukaryotic philozoan, apoicozoan clade. So that's an example of a law that evolution contains and that refutes common evolution denier talking points. Like they'll say they think an amoeba should evolve into a whale. A whale is still an amorphian, just like an amoeba is. It just is a way more derived version of Amorphian. It's on the other side of multicellular. So we won't overcomplicate this. I know this is probably abstruse and difficult for the less schooled to understand, but if you can follow along, it's good to understand it. And then the law of faunal succession. This is another law that evolution encompasses, in which it spells out real problems for evolution deniers. Just the fact that evolution encompasses laws at all is probably a problem for them, right? Because if a theory wasn't at least somewhat accurate, it being able to uh, discover and describe laws seems really unlikely, right? But this is another one. The law of faunal succession, sometimes called the law of faunal procession, or just words that mean, a sequence. And what that law describes is the fact that if you pick any two species, there are steps in between them. No matter how different they are, you can bridge the gap with differences. And every species that you dig up in the fossil record, every species that you discover on the planet, looks like something else. We've yet to find a species that's just totally isolated, which is what you might expect from a divine simultaneous creation moment, for instance, right? So those are some examples of laws, and that's what a law means, and a couple of debunks for you there. And then lastly, the man of the hour, the term that necessitates the whole reason for the video. Theories. What is a theory? This is probably this is the most complicated term to answer, because theories have a range, and evolution is a very well embodied theory. It's massive. It's so comprehensive. And what a theory basically is a comprehensive, highly proven, highly corroborated explanation of some aspect of the natural world. It's capable of making successful predictions. So I've explained it in the past as what science is doing is we are trying to create quantifiable, falsifiable, possible solutions to unanswered questions and unsolved problems in our attempts to study and better understand the universe using what we learn to improve human existence. And the theory is the pinnacle of that process. The theory is the model that we build after proposing all these solutions and testing them and seeing which ones compete better than others and which ones we can just toss out outright. And so theories incorporate vast bodies of facts, laws, hypotheses, and logical inferences. So a theory is the highest status because it isn't just a theory. It's the model and it's all the facts, laws, hypotheses, and logical inferences that built the model. So, some examples of theories, of course, are germ theory, heliocentric theory, the theory of gravity, and the theory of evolution. And, we live in a world where you would expect that the only one of those theories that people deny is the theory of evolution, but we live in a world with anti-vaxxers and flat earthers, so you'll probably run into people who are denying the theory of evolution who also deny germ theory and heliocentric theory and the theory of gravity. So, but it is a useful comparison to keep in your pocket because nobody wants to be like a flat earther and say, gravity's just a theory, heliocentrism's just a theory. To say that these things are just theories and aren't an accurate reflection of the state of affairs in reality is perverse and confusing and pretty wrong. So to sum it up and to drive it home, so hopefully you know exactly how to refute and untangle this common trope when creationists do it. When someone says evolution is just a theory, what they're really doing is they're equivocating and they're trying to demote evolution. They're trying to demote theories in science to less than facts, less than laws, and actually, what they're really doing is they're acting like it's just a hypothesis. It's just an unfounded guess. And that's not accurate at all, as we've gone over. A theory is well substantiated by a large body of evidence, facts, laws, observations, and hypotheses. So the correct response would actually be something like, "Oh, thank goodness evolution is a theory. If evolution weren't a theory, it would just be this giant body of facts that we don't have a comprehensive explanation for." And luckily, evolution is a theory, so we have the theory of evolution to describe the fact of evolution and the change in allele frequencies in populations of organisms over time. Uh, but because the word is so commonly misused, you probably just have to go all the way in and explain theories, facts, laws, hypotheses, and explain that evolution is a theory because it contains facts, laws, and scientific hypotheses, not just unfounded guesses like your uncle makes at Thanksgiving. So that pretty much sums up this one. This was a good short one in under 15 minutes. So let's do all the social things. Like, subscribe, comment, share this channel with your friends who are science friendly or science hostile, and provoke them to think and be more curious about the world and what they accept and what they reject. And yeah, I'm Austin Sims. This is my channel, Scientific Origins. Thank you so much for stopping by.